Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We are here at the beautiful Humboldt Redwoods State Park, or I am here at the Humboldt Redwoods State Park. I am social distancing with our other interpreter, Griff, and we are interviewing a very, very awesome individual today. She is Nicole Jackson. She is not only a program coordinator for the Ohio Certified Volunteer Naturalist Program at the Ohio State University, she is also a member of the Next Generation Advisory Council of the National Parks and Conservation Association, the co-organizer of Black Birders Week. She is the creator of Black and National Parks Week. She's an avid public lands advocate, environmental educator, naturalist, birder, and just a very awesome person. We are so happy to have you today. How are you doing today, Nicole?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me. And it's great to see you, Erika and Griffin. John is I'm sorry. I'm so excited because it's been a while. I've seen you, so I'm happy.
Folks that are watching, Nicole and I go back. We've seen each other at all kinds of conferences, and we've danced the BioBlitz dance together and hung out and stuff like that. So when I saw, and we met years ago, so when I saw that you created Black and National Parks, I wasn't surprised. But what I would like to know is, were you just out hiking and I have an idea? How did this come about?
So I currently am on the advisory council, Next Generation Advisory Council team with the National Parks Conservation Association. So I joined this cohort back in 2018 with some other awesome national parks and public land advocates from across the United States. And Audrey Peterman suggested I apply to become a Next Gen Advisory Council member. And I was very hesitant just because when I saw the word policy, I just froze. And, I was like, maybe I don't think, this is the right thing for me, because policy was something I wasn't as interested in, or felt like it's just too much of a headache.
You're more of a naturalist or something? You're more of a naturalist?
Yeah, so it's more of the education and nature education specifically that I was interested in. So when I saw policy, I was like, if this is all about policy, I don't think I'm going to be able to contribute anything. But then I realized, from the fellow council members, some of the people that I already knew, which made me even more comfortable with applying, and they gave me that reassurance that it's not all about policy. I decided to apply, got in with the rest of the 15 members of the cohort, and really just wanted to give myself that space and time to really learn about how to be a park advocate. What does that mean on a national level? How can I be a part of a group, a team, an organization that supports national parks and public lands in a way that I haven't done before? And then Black Birders Week happened. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to contribute to this cohort in some way. We were learning a lot of information, getting to know each other. COVID happened, and then the situation with Christian Cooper happened in Central Park. I was familiar with
that sucks.
Christian Cooper, just seeing him in videos about bird watching and his interest. And, that was something I've all too well know of, just, a lot of these incidents. And I instantly think of the Lake Merritt barbecue situation in California. Yeah, so that was just another reminder that oh, this is happening again. And so for me, it wasn't anything new. And then, the Black AF and STEM group, a few members decided to come up with an idea for Black Birders Week. So I joined in, and the celebration of that, it wasn't even anything of there's frustration and sadness, and it was unfortunate to have to witness that again through this social media going viral. It was we're out here with some things as science communicators, as Black bird watchers, as STEM educators, and we wanted to show that but also speak to the issues that we encounter every day doing these very basic outdoor activities. So I wanted to include some sort of national park conversation within the planning of that, but it was just, everything just happened so fast, and I felt like that would have been too much too soon. So I kind of put it on the back burner, like behind me, of like, okay, I'll use this another time. Didn't have a title for it, didn't have a definition of what it would look like. It was just more of like, I want to engage more people on social media about our national park system. So once that happened, it was, okay, Black Birders Week is over, but we were doing a bunch of interviews, connecting with a bunch of people about our interests still. So I felt like August would be a good time just because of the birthday of the National Park Service. So that's when I found out, you know, these dates could work. So it started the week of the birthday of the National Park Service. And then it progressed into, okay, each week it's the similar setup as Black Birders Week. It can have a hashtag. People can engage on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and share their stories of how they're getting to national parks, how they're using the national parks still as we're going through this pandemic, and how we can better engage people and educating themselves about the history of our national parks from a Black perspective.
Awesome. And that's really helpful because there's a lot of little kids that, you know, in the past did not see themselves reflected in the outdoor industries, you know, magazines and stuff, and didn't see themselves reflected in parks brochures and stuff like that. So I think this is wonderful, and I'm really inspired by you doing this, and I think it's going to have some wonderful ripple effects because we're going to have a generations of kids who see themselves in the outdoors, and I think that right there is so beautiful. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yes, I'm so glad everybody kind of has just been jumping on this bandwagon, the same as Black Birders Week, and it's just progressed so much. And seeing people like really reach out, you know, I didn't know. And the other thing was we have 419 park units. Most people think of just the 62, you know, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Yosemite. And, you know, helping people understand that there's 357 other park units, you know, historical sites system, and really like, okay, once you realize how big it is, then you want to know more. So how can we better engage people in getting more of that information?
Awesome.
What is your
Erika,
what is your Instagram or Twitter for those programs and for that week?
Yes, so Black and National Parks Week it started on August 24th and ended August 29th. So Twitter is at Black NINPS Week. And then it's the same for Instagram. So at Black INNPS Week.
Yeah, congratulations on your 1,000 followers, by the way. I saw your video, very exciting.
I legit was not, Black Birders Week was enough for me with engaging on social media because I'm usually on Facebook. So when Black Birders Week happened and they're like, yeah, we have an Instagram and Twitter.
Well, I mean, it's really
That's something I'm familiar with.
It's really good. I mean, I've learned that there's so many different kinds of audiences that these social media platforms like have, and they're so diverse. And, you know, it's really about tapping into the different ones, especially kind of the younger market of like the younger audiences. I've definitely seen a lot more like families of color that have come up, and, you know, they always ask me like, where are you from? You know, maybe they haven't seen another like Latina girl. They're like coming from like San Jose or like from Sacramento. And a lot of them are just kind of surprised to see somebody. But yeah, it's really good that you're giving this kind of representation. And I guess one question that I really like to ask people is, what would be a moment or experience that you felt like rewarded? Like, you've obviously done a lot of work and it's all super meaningful. But what was like one significant moment that you stopped and you were like, I want to cry right now. Like, I'm super proud of myself.
So for me, it was, I guess, the first discussion that we had. And it's interesting being a Black woman, like I feel like we do so much already. Like we wear so many different hats. even as you were giving my bio, you have all like a list of things. And I don't really take the time to process that. Like these are all individual things that I've developed skills for over time. It's not something that, you know, you just wake up and you have these skills to get to this place. And I have to tell myself a lot to acknowledge that, like celebrate the little things as well as the big things. And that's a part of it, you know. Like I don't like being an autopilot, so it's hard for me to, even in this situation with the pandemic, to really like stop myself and like celebrate in a way that's meaningful for me without having to like, okay, I did one thing, just keep pushing forward, and then you just forget everything that you did, and like really celebrate those victories. So for me, when we had our first discussion with James Edward Mills, who's with the Joy Trip Project, and the anti-racism panel discussion, because all of the people that I look up to were part of that, you know, discussion. And that was my first time being together with Bob Stanton. Like I've always heard about him, but to be on a panel with him and talking about my experiences and listening to their wisdom and knowledge from their work and their legacy, like living legacies, like Carolyn Finney. And I just, yeah. So that was like a moment for me once it was over. I just like really had to pinch myself. And Shelton Johnson even sent me an email afterwards, you know, thanking me and like, you know, I'm so proud of you and what you're doing is wonderful. It's definitely needed. So like those words really meant a lot, even though it wasn't an email, like it's still like, I need to frame it. But yeah, it was like a huge moment for me to be a part of that conversation.
I think it's so great that you just mentioned all of these mentors that have been so influential and inspirational in your own journey, because I feel like we all have them, and you know, you're obviously a pioneer in your own rightful way, but you know, it's important to remind people that we're all kind of inspired and motivated by all the things. And you know, when we see, you know, I'm sure there's a bunch of little girls that are looking up to you today, but you know, it's good to think like, you know, what motivates me, because there's other people that are already kind of doing this kind of work. And so if we just kind of look out and do that, so I think it's so great that you are kind of being another role model that, you know, other young boys and girls and just people can just look up to, and then know that they're not alone and there's other people doing this kind of fight.
Yes, and you know, I said the thing about the people that come before us, because they work just as hard, and that we shouldn't forget them. And the same with our history. There's people that we didn't know about that went through a lot to, you know, for us to be where we are, and to know those stories and know that history is just as important.
So I think that we've touched on a lot of really awesome topics. You know, with being a state park organization, and just the park system in general, having a history of exclusion, you know, of the systemic racism, and like, what are we doing, you know, as park and like government organizations and as public entities to like look introspectively on like, okay, like we have to accept these things, like it happened, you know, that's how parks were established, you know, displaced a lot of Native people. They, you know, weren't accepting to a lot of people of color. And so I think it's important that we start to address these things. And, you know, our park is trying to do our best in like making like better signage that is more, you know, representational of like the whole history, you know, not just parts of the history that some people want to know about. And, you know, through our programs and like stories that we choose to highlight. And so we're just really grateful, you know, that you're helping us in this, you know, our little mission here to like just increase this diversity and have a more inclusive and safe space that people can feel comfortable coming to. So we thank you for this special interview. We know you're a busy woman and you're going to be doing a lot of awesome, great things. So we caught you at a good time.
Yes, definitely. Thanks so much for having me.
We'll pay you thousands of dollars next time, girl.
Probably.
Well, I hope this doesn't distance us more, because I definitely don't want to be a celebrity. I just want to continue telling my story and sharing that so other people can have the confidence to do the same. So.
Cool. Well, we look forward to having you come birdwatch in our park. So put that on your calendar at some point.
Yes, definitely. I would love to come back to California and do that.
Yes, please. Well, thank you
Thank you,
so
Nicole.
much. Thank you, Nicole. You have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.